Every second, every minute, every day, news is breaking, events occur, and there are new developments. At Signature TV, we follow these stories objectively, bringing all sides without bias, explaining the complex issues, breaking down the numbers, and investigating the issues behind the news. Anywhere and everywhere, near or far, wherever the news is, we will be there. Signature TV. News in your pocket.
UNTH Ituku Ozala Enugu. Good morning, Doctor. Thank you for joining us this morning on the show.
Good morning, and thank you.
All right. So let's start from the basics. Basic definitions, because you're a health person, but not many people understand, the terminologies and the nuances that are involved in healthcare. So we're going to be breaking it down. We're going to start with simple definitions. First of all, what are infectious diseases?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Just like the name connotes, infectious diseases are diseases that are caused by organisms that can be transmitted from one person to the other through various means, such as contact by sexual means, or by plain body contact, or by use of items that have been used by the infected person. Okay, they are usually different kinds of microorganisms, and you have viral infectious diseases, bacterial infectious diseases, fungal infectious diseases, and then sometimes you have bigger organisms like nematodes, for example, like organisms like Plasmodium that cause malaria.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Yes.
So you're saying, sorry to cut you short.
Yes.
Because I want at the end of this interview,
Okay.
someone listening can know that, okay, this disease is an infectious disease and this is not.
Yes.
So you're saying a disease like malaria is an infectious disease.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Okay. What about diseases like cancer and things like that?
No.
I
Okay.
want you to explain
Okay.
how someone can, okay, this disease is not an infectious disease because Dr. Chike said you use this and this as indicators to know the
Okay.
difference.
Yeah, I think we're almost there. Let's use those two examples.
Okay.
Let's use a plain one. Apollo.
Okay.
What people normally call Apollo. It's actually viral
Conjunctivitis.
Exactly, which is caused by a virus. In as much as you just get close to that person, be shaking, give me a hug, you've had contact, that person may have been rubbing his or her eyes, and the virus is in the hand and shakes you, eventually you rub your eyes.
You transfer.
Exactly. So it's an infectious disease. However, somebody has cancer, let's say cancer of the breast. The person, you hug the person may have touched the lesion, paining her, shakes you, and you still touch your body or different parts of your body. You won't come down with the cancer. So infectious disease is a disease that can be transmitted directly from the person that has it to another person who has contact with that person through various means. It can even by blood transfusion. For example, hepatitis B virus may be in somebody's blood, and that person, maybe the blood was not well screened and is transfused into another person. That person may come down with hepatitis B virus. So it has to be from one person to the other. However, any disease, for example, diabetes mellitus, someone has diabetes mellitus, has body contact with another person, shares items with the other person, does so many things with the other person, even having some form of intimacy with that person. The other person will not come down with diabetes mellitus because it is not transferable from one person to the other.
So the difference now is the ability
to be transferred from one person to the other. Yes,
via different
means.
Exactly.
Exactly.
All right. So if you recall in 2014 when Dr. Adadevo lost her life, the issue with Ebola, I guess that was when when everybody, at least a greater number of people, got to know about infection, at least viral infectious diseases. Tell us about those infectious diseases that have the tendency of not just affecting people in a particular location, but going across borders to becoming epidemics and pandemics. Tell us about that class of infectious diseases.
Thank you. Technically, theoretically, every infectious disease has a potential of being a pandemic, which is a disease that can go across borders and infect a high population of people, usually within a short period of time. However, there are some diseases that are noted to be highly contagious, highly infectious, and they are usually associated with being novel, which is usually new infection. So most people, the general population, don't yet have antibodies in a collective way to be protected. Sorry, don't yet have immunity against the organism. Okay?
New organism.
Yes, because it's relatively new.
That was what happened with Ebola.
Exactly. So most people worldwide have not had contact with that infection, and their body hasn't yet developed some form of immunity or resistance against it. So it has the ability to spread, infect many people, go very far. Now, as to pandemics, you understand that most infections have what you call incubation period. When somebody gets exposed to it and it gets infected by the organism, it doesn't immediately show in that person. There has to be some time that will pass, usually days to weeks, before that organism becomes able to get that person sick.
Physically.
Exactly. And that person also now start transmitting or infecting other people.
Okay,
now,
hold on. There's a lot we need to unpack.
All
now,
right.
you're saying that when someone gets infected, there's a window period.
Exactly.
Can someone transmit infection during that window period before it starts manifesting physically? Is it possible?
It depends on the incubation period and the window period of that organism. When somebody has an organism, it needs to go into that body from the surface the person got it, let's say the respiratory tract.
Through sneezing?
Yes, into the person's tissues and eventually into the blood. And then from the blood, the person can transmit, or it's also going to the secretions of that person. So that period from the time the person got that infection to the period it's now able to enter the person's fluids may take some days to weeks. During that period, that person has that organism but is not able to infect other people.
Is it also true for
That's
HIV?
the window period.
Is
Yes.
it also true for HIV?
Yes, that's what you call the window period. That person may not transmit. Incidentally, it varies across so many organisms. Some are just a few hours, some are a few days, some are weeks. HIV is a few days from getting infected.
It depends on the virulence of the organism.
Exactly, when the person is able to transmit. And then again, when that person has that infection, is able to infect other people, the person may not have come down with the sickness. That's classical with HIV. That person now has it in the person's fluids, but it hasn't done enough damage to that person for that person to be sick. That is the period that most people transmit infectious diseases. Okay, let me give an example. Somebody has a respiratory tract infection. Okay, it's one we call a bacterial called Haemophilus influenza. The person may be moving around or may occasionally sneeze or rub the nostrils and be shaking people. The person is transmitting all those things. Eventually, after a few days from that period, the person will now start having fever, start sneezing uncontrollably, and start being sick. And now going to the bed and go to hospital, may now be isolated. But that period, he was walking around, sneezing a bit, shaking people, transmitting the disease. So if he contacted about 30 people within that period, give them their own few days, they will shake other people, then go sick. Maybe 30 people have each one has shaken about 30 people, multiplied by 30. So we're getting 900 people. So within a few days, almost millions get infected. Now, among those 30 people, about 10 may have entered flight to a country abroad. It's just a few hours, 6-7 hours. Yeah, from Nigeria, Lagos to London. He comes down, stays a few days, attends a party, shakes everybody, has been sneezing, and then comes down with the sickness a few days later. He shook about 100 people at the party. They go back to their families, shake other people. Within a few days, they are sick. They've all shaken about 1 million people in the UK. In that UK, some travel to US, travel to Mexico. It becomes a pandemic.
It's exponential.
Exactly. That was exactly what happened with the last pandemic we had. That was a terror.
Okay, the COVID.
Yes, of course.
Okay, so
COVID-19.
The picture you just painted now just sparked off something in my head. That there's the way you have value chains for maybe commerce.
Yes.
There's also disease value chain, for lack of a better word to explain it, where it moves from one person to another.
Okay.
Is that why hand washing is so encouraged?
Yes.
Tell us how to break that chain, because if people know better, they do better, right? So
Yes.
if they know that you can't stop guys from,
yes.
you can't stop ladies from hugging.
Yes.
So how can someone consciously break this chain, this value chain of disease transference?
Thank you very much. That's a very important question. And incidentally, it falls into the part of healthcare we call preventive healthcare. There are different stages, but the early aspect of effective preventive healthcare. Many infectious diseases have different modes, and therefore, if you try your own basic preventive healthcare, it may not work. For example, somebody gets transfused with blood that was not properly screened and gets hepatitis B virus infection. You can't do much about it in terms of it wasn't your fault, because you've paid for that blood to be screened before being transfused. So it's a result of error.
Please, can you hold that thought?
Okay.
Hold that. We'll get back to it.
Okay.
Now.
I'm going to that one now.
Okay, good.
But in the majority of cases, we can avoid infectious diseases because most are usually by body contact, hand, hugging, and the rest. For those that are transmitted through fecal-oral routes or the oral routes, hand washing is key, because ordinary this use of soap to wash hand, liquid or tablets, preferably liquid soap, will clear, this is normally seen in advertisement, 99.9% of organisms. Is actually true. Yes. It's as important as the risk of transmitting HIV virus for somebody that's accidentally exposed sexually and person goes and takes his bath immediately is reduced by almost 99%.
Say that again.
Just taking your bath, washing immediately after.
But it's an internal invasive process.
Yes.
So if you just wash your outer genitalia, how will it?
No, you know, in this world, there's this adage,
keeping a more.
Yes, because there are basic preventive things you will do that will immediately reduce your getting infected by as much as 99%. But then all those people that had that infection did even better or bigger preventive measures, and they got infected. So you don't bank on you wash and you don't get HIV. Okay, you simply avoid getting it, like abstinence, use of barrier methods like condom and female condoms and the rest. However, basic infections, let me not use a very bad one like that. Basic infections like getting the normal typhoid fever you hear of, acute gastroenteritis that can be caused by Staphylococcus aureus and other salmonella. You wash your hand very well before eating and after eating. After hand shaking people, you will hardly come down with those infections, those diseases. That's why if you see families that before their children wash hands, they wash hands, and after eating, and they wash fruits. When you want to wash fruits, you may soak it in something like salty water for 15 minutes, then now wash it, rinse it off thoroughly. They really come down with infections.
I know a family, since COVID, they don't go into the house without washing their hands.
Yes, I still do that in my house. It's a difficult thing to maintain, but when you get used to it, you get used to it. It's a beautiful habit. Also, things like when you want to talk to somebody directly, you maintain a little distance. You don't come to somebody's face.
There are people that don't know how to maintain.
Then when you want to sneeze, you use handkerchief. And if somebody sneezes around you
what do you do?
Mistakenly did not use handkerchief, I go as much as hold my
your
breath a bit, and then within seconds, I may pretend so as not make the person embarrassed, like I want to maybe answer and move out.
Away from the trajectory of the...
Yes, as much as, let's say, 6 feet or more, all right? Maybe that's about 3 meters and above away from the person. But basically, wash your hand every day. And other mechanisms, you know, there are some that are true body contact. Know how you play safe. Maintain one partner, always. That person, both of you should be regularly screened. Use barrier mechanisms even for yourselves. If you are married, you can trust yourselves enough to now be unprotected. But for me, infectious diseases are things that some are inevitable, but the majority that disturb us are highly... Exactly. Then there's another form of advanced prevention, which is early detection and prompt treatment. Okay, which is once you feel any sign that you have an infection. For example, you start sneezing and you feel you're a bit febrile, immediately go to your doctor.
When you say febrile, what do you
Sorry,
mean?
you are having fever. You think your body is a bit hot and you're not feeling too okay. Don't wait until you are down. Immediately present to a hospital. You'll be shocked at what they'll find out. Yes, and they'll start you on treatments immediately. So that's another form of prevention, which is early treatment.
Early presentation.
Exactly. If they start that treatment, you find out that you may not transmit to many more people. You also get treated better than when you frankly come down.
True. There was something you mentioned, salmonella.
Okay, that is a name for what causes what we normally know as typhoid fever.
Now, you find out malaria, we understand because malaria is endemic.
Yes.
But most of the time, this scenario you painted now where somebody's feeling febrile, feverish, tiredness, sneezing, when you go to the hospital and you're sent for lab tests, it's usually typhoid and malaria. And quite frankly, most people are no longer, they don't trust that. They might understand malaria, but the typhoid part, they may not understand.
Yes.
What is the transmission route for typhoid? Is it truly as common or as endemic as most results, test results make them appear?
This is a very, very good question and a bit sensitive for us doctors to answer. Because most times, if we don't treat somebody for typhoid and that person happens to, after initial treatment, not get well, you say you don't know what you're doing. You didn't treat me for typhoid. So we would like to treat the person for typhoid so the person will be comfortable. We know what we are treating. We'll go beyond that. And God has been so merciful. Most of the antibiotics we use are broad spectrum. So when you are treating typhoid, you tell I'm treating typhoid, but your target is what you already suspect, which can also kill typhoid and go for that organism. So basically, typhoid fever is caused by the organism Salmonella typhi.
How is it transmitted?
It's transmitted through the fecal-oral route. What I mean is, when somebody has typhoid fever, the person tends to go to toilet, may clean themselves and not wash hands, poor hygiene, and move around. When somebody else, as usual, hugs or shakes that person, and then eventually goes to eat food and eats with the dirty hand, it has entered into the mouth. So fecal from the anal region, oral into the mouth. All right. Another means is when food is poorly prepared, poorly done. Commonly, when typhoid was quite endemic all over the place, ice cream, all these side ice creams,
roadside,
roadside, is a common source because the organism thrives in those kind of environments where they have carbohydrates and things around. So when you take poorly prepared food, don't wash hands properly after using the loo, and because you can also be in a public toilet, you use the place and you now go and eat without washing your hand. So that's how it's transmitted basically, through the fecal-oral route. Incubation period is a few days, some weeks, and within that period, the person can also transmit. Now, how we treat it is basically use of organisms, antibiotics. Now, we normally go for the ones that are broad spectrum. By that I mean it can take care of different types of bacterial organisms. And we commonly don't believe anymore that most illnesses are due to typhoid and malaria. Okay, our clinical capabilities are able to tell us what to go for. All right. However, we do know that a lot of the not so updated people will always do the typhoid test, and there will always be some titer that is above the normal. The reason is that in this country, most people have had typhoid repeatedly, that the body is not able to remove
entirely
the antigens that are being detected.
What are antigens?
By the test. Antigens are simply molecules in the body which, if you do a test, okay, or if the body produces, and if the body feels it's in it, it's going to react immediately and produce other molecules or substances to fight it, thinking that it's going to cause a problem for it.
So antigens are foreign bodies outside.
Yes, you can use the word foreign body, but not just foreign bodies that are able to make the body to respond aggressively see that foreign body as a threat, because the body can see a foreign body, feel presence of a foreign body within it, and not see it as a threat. For example, you get injured, and we use sutures, and as this thing we use for suturing, for stitching, to stitch that place. The body will sense the suture in it, but in most cases, it won't see it as a foreigner. Okay. So it's not going to start reacting and sending organisms there. Yes. And then again, we must accord some of the accolades to ourselves. The scientists also are that intelligent. We're able to know the difference and able to send the right thing to the body. Okay, but like you rightly said, antigens are things that cause immune response, the body to react and try to fight it. Okay. Now, we have some tests that we do, which simply detect antigens, okay, by some methods. And they keep detecting the, and in this case, actually, typhoid, what you have is the antibodies that they actually detect.
Not the direct antigen.
Not the antibodies. These tests, the cheaper ones, detect what the body has produced to fight that organism.
So it's an indirect test.
Thank you, indirect test. Are you the science field?
No, please, go ahead.
So exactly. The more specific ones that detect antigens are usually very expensive, usually like polymerase chain reactions. We don't need to go that far because these tests are all generally accurate. So when these tests detect the antibody, they will say, this person has it if the antibody is in a particular concentration. Now, the body is like hypersensitized for typhoid. So it keeps keeping the antibody level in, most times, the elevated level that it will seem significant when you do the lab test. So it keeps saying typhoid.
Okay, so what you're saying is that it's possible that the medical lab scientists got the right analysis.
Yes, but
it doesn't translate directly to the clinical presentation.
Yes, that's the peculiar issue we have with diagnosis for typhoid. The lab is actually accurate. The titer is above 80, therefore significant. But this person's fever, malaria, which is feeling sick, other symptoms, are actually not due to this salmonella that this lab has identified as the cause. So now, most times we are open, we tell the patients the results. Oh, madam, okay, this your result is actually saying that you have typhoid, but I don't believe you have typhoid. I want to treat what is there.
Yes.
And you end up treating, and of course we are human beings. Things can respond differently, and the person maybe after the treatment regimen, a week later, still feels sick and comes for a checkup. Madam, how are you? I'm still not well. Okay, let's see what we can do. She might just say, doctor, but you didn't treat me for typhoid again. You understand? So you have that dilemma. So what we normally do is, it's positive, we are suspecting something else, we try to treat with a drug that, even though it's targeting what we want, but has a capability to treat typhoid.
Okay, so you're talking about antibiotics that are
broad spectrum. Thank you.
But this campaign about antimicrobial resistance,
yes,
they are kicking and fighting against, using broad spectrum, that you should start with the smaller ones, the narrow ones.
No, that's not the fight.
Okay.
Let me put the records.
Because it's a dilemma for the doctors.
We are the ones.
The patients are mounting pressure, then these other people are mounting.
Yes, we are the ones.
How are you going about
pressure?
it?
Because there are things that cause multi-drug resistance. One of them is not using broad spectrum. No. It's about using the drug by the right person. Let me give you an example. As a doctor, if I want to treat somebody for an infection, I first check that person's clinical state. I first check the laboratory. Then I compare the results with my clinical judgments. For example, if I want to treat somebody that has lobar pneumonia, with my clinical experience and judging from how I assess the person, I might tell that person, you have to be under admission for at least 10 days. And I use parenteral, that's drugs I give directly to the vein, for complete 10 days to 14 days. The person may be looking normal like you and I. But that person looking normal like you and I will just walk into a pharmacy shop and they place that person on an ordinary oral antibiotic for 5 days. Imagine the results effective to have on that person that I judged that needed IV antibiotics for 14 days. So that person is going to most likely develop resistance, strong resistance to that drug that he was given by a roadside patent drug dealer. And that drug, incidentally, may be a good drug, but we don't use it like that.
So it was used
suboptimally, in a suboptimal level. So now that drug is standard though, but was used suboptimally. So it's bound to fail to work in that person. And then that person is now walking around with blood that has resistant organisms to that very, very good drug. And then that person now starts contacting people. You can now imagine if it's malaria, for example, and the person used an anti-malaria that ordinarily I may have decided to use for a longer period, and that person gives it for a shorter period. The person immediately, and the ability of organisms to adapt is unbelievable. These organisms are terrible. They merely adapt. Once they overcome that organism,
they become stronger.
They develop the ability for that drug not to work on them again. The person goes around being bitten by mosquitoes all over the place. The mosquitoes will now start biting other people, sending in the type of plasmodium that they got from this person.
And that's why someone will complain, I've treated malaria.
It's not working, yes. Not working. I don't want to mention drugs, but there are some, I don't want to say so many, some of the drugs, ACTs we use now, that we repeatedly use on patients and they no longer work. So we have a lot in our hands. So we want to start from the grassroots. Stop abusing these drugs. So when these drugs are to be used, a specialist needs to come in, specialist. That's why when we want to use these oral drugs, we have rules. How many people know that no oral antibiotic, except specific ones that we know, no oral antibiotic should be taken for less than 7 days? You see this, they get mixed drug for me. I am having cough. They mix some things. If you check the dose, it's not up to 3-4 days. And some of these drugs are so good that you take it 1-2 days, that cough goes. But you must take it for minimum of 7 days because you are trying to stop resistance being developed to that organism, to that drug. So the symptoms will be abated after 2-3 days, but the organisms have not been cleared from the blood. Yes, have not been cleared. So when the drug that is bombarding them suddenly stops coming, those that survived will say, let's go and see how other brothers died. Oh, they didn't attack them from the rib. Okay, let's keep armor on this, our own rib. They develop into resistant organisms.
Just like what the Bible says, that when you chase an evil spirit
and you leave the place,
it will go and get brothers
and it will come with reinforcement.
Finally, because we are out of time, you've seen the recent surge in flooding in Nigeria. How do you think that will impact, the spread or the surge of infectious diseases?
Because of our level of development, it's a guarded one. We just have to be careful. There are what you call water impounding diseases that have to do with excess flooding and the rest. They thrive at these periods, especially in the areas where they have the vectors, which are the insects, the living things that carry them. All right, so we expect a huge resurgence.
Can you name some of those infectious diseases? I know one of cholera.
You just took it from my mouth. It's actually coming back in full swing now. So we expect a rise in cholera in those areas now. Okay, and cholera on its own can get a nation on its knees. All right, and is a waterborne disease. It's transmitted through the water. All right, and that one, because there are so many diseases that are waterborne, but there are some that are capable of causing epidemics. Okay, among the common ones coming now, cholera is the one that's associated to water. I know Lassa is coming in, but it's not really waterborne. It's through
rats. But the rats can thrive in, waterlogged and dirty areas, yeah? Yeah, but, based on our epidemiology statistics, they usually don't come on the rise as a result of that. They come on the rise as a result of the weather, the humid weather. These things thrive in warm environment where there's a lot of food. So they now, we store food in the house, they now start coming in to eat this food. In the process, they have contact with human beings. They defecate on the food. Yes, pee on urinate on the food. And then when somebody who wicked rodents.
Yes, that's why you remember this normal thing of one is so hungry, you just go carry gari, put in water, put sugar and soak and take. So you can imagine gari that was left on the basin. One stupid, one funny mastomys rat comes and takes a share of the garri because I'm so confident.
And even where you buy it from the market, they're all exposed.
Yes, this is himself there, and he has a high level of Lassa virus in it. Hi, that person is going to come down with Lassa. And the danger with that is he won't have that Lassa and suffer it by himself. That's why infectious diseases are not good. He will not start transmitting to people, courtesy of the wonderful rat that peed on his garri. He will now start being the agent to transmit the transmission agent to other human beings.
The
rat was the vector.
Okay.
His name, his classification is no longer vector.
Okay.
It's not an agent. I don't know this event. I don't know why this things are this way. It's as if we are playing a chess game in this world.
What can people do as prevention?
Cover your food. Like I've had this age-old practice in my house. Anything that is not finished immediately must not be sighted at all, must not be accessible. Bag of rice, when I buy a bag of rice, I buy a bigger bucket and put it in there and cover it.
You don't leave it in the bag?
No, because these things, rats are capable of biting through those bags. I'm even wondering whether one day they won't come and bite through my plastic, but I'm yet to see an iron bucket that has cover. So I still use that plastic. Then garri, when you buy it in that their polythene bag, you must pour it into a plastic bucket with a container with cover. Please cover all your items, all right? Things, leftover food must go straight into the fridge. Don't leave it on top of the, dining table, and cover it and go to bed. So rats are strong. They will just come, move it aside for you, finish it, they may even cover it back for you. Go their way.
Thank you so much. I wish we had more time because I'm actually enjoying the conversation and it's something everybody needs to know. For example, the fact that you're not supposed to take antibiotics any 7 days, less than 7 days, for less than 7 days. Minimum of 7 days. Any oral one.
Just give it that free to the public.
Yes.
There are specific ones that their duration is for that shorter period. We know them. We don't have to be. Come to the doctor. We'll take care of you, because I say this doesn't mean now you go and start taking drugs for 7 days and stop. There are some you should take for 2 weeks. It's left to the
physician.
Yes, to assess what exactly you need to do. So I say minimum of 7 days doesn't mean you start taking all drugs for minimum of 7 days. No.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chike Obologo, for your insights. We've been discussing resurgence of infectious diseases in Nigeria, assessment of our preparedness. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you very much.
Don't go anywhere. New Day continues with our expert interviews right after now. Stay with us.
Every second, every minute, every day, news is breaking, events occur, and there are new developments. At Signature TV, we follow these stories objectively, bringing all sides without bias, explaining the complex issues, breaking down the numbers, and investigating the issues behind the news. Anywhere and everywhere, near or far, wherever the news is, we will be there. Signature TV. News in your